بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته المنتجبين. صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله، صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا ابن رسول الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة، يا مظلوم يا شهيد يا غريب كربلاء، يا ليتنا يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. لم أنس زينب بعد الخدر حاسرة تبدي النياحة ألحانا فألحانا تدعو أباها أمير المؤمنين ألا يا والدي حكمت فينا رعايانا وغاب عنا المحامي والكفيل، فمن يحمي حمانا ومن يؤوي يتامانا إن عسعس الليل وربت لوجهنا وإن تنفس وجه الصبح أبدانا قم يا علي فما هذا القعود، قم يا علي فما هذا القعود وما عهدي تغض على الأكفان وتنثني تارة تدعو عشيرتها من شيبة الحمد أشياخا وشبانا يقوموا غضابا من الأجداث وانتدبوا واستنقذوا من يد البلوى بقايانا بويا يا علي يا بويا علينا خيم الليل ودارت علينا الزلم والخيل جاسم والأكبر من شاتيل وسجادنا مطروح ونحيل يابا 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 والحسين مثلوا بي تمثيل والعباس مرمي بغير تغسيل لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. Now everyone together. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن هذا لهو البلاء المبين وفديناه بذبح عظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. A second for the love of Imams Al-Hasan wal-Hussein. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. A third for the love of Fatima al-Zahra with your loudest voices. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives Ibrahim a very difficult test. Ibrahim had passed many challenges and many obstacles. Yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to increase in his stages and give him a promotion. وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ قَالَ إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. Ibrahim saw in his dream that he is slaughtering his own son Ismail, his eldest son. And this was a revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This was a command to slaughter his eldest son. Ibrahim tells Ismail, Ya bunay, inni ara fil manami anni adbahuk. My son, I see myself in my dream slaughtering you. Immediately Ismail realizes that this is a command from Allah. قال يا أبتي افعل ما تؤمر. My father, do as you're told. Ismail did not hesitate. He did not ask why, for what reason. He encourages his father to pass this test. And he says, do as you're told, meaning slaughter me. And on that day, the day of the test, the day of the challenge, Ibrahim takes Ismail. Ismail was young, he was in his teenage years. He takes him and he takes a knife with him. His wife Hajar tells him, where are you going? He said, we are invited by a great one. And he comes to Mina. They were in Mecca. He comes to Mina, and there, فَلَمَّا أَسْلَمَا وَتَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينِ. They surrendered. Both Ismail and Ibrahim submit to this ultimate test, Ismail surrenders to his father's challenge, and he says, slaughter me, but I have 3 requests, my dear father. My first request is that I never got to say goodbye to my mother. When I left the house, she didn't know that this is the last time she will see me. Before you slaughter me, take my shirt and take it to her after you kill me. My second request is that you tie my hands and feet. Why? Because when you begin slaughtering me, I might begin to struggle. And when I struggle, you might become emotional, and you will delay the command of Allah. The command of Allah will be delayed. Tie my hands and feet. And number 3, don't slaughter me facing me. Let me face the ground. Slaughter me from the back. He asked him why. He said, because perhaps you will look in my face, in my eyes, and you will become emotional. You won't have the ability to slaughter your son. So turn me the other way around and slaughter. فَلَمَّا أَسْلَمَا وَتَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينِ وَنَادَيْنَاهُ أَن يَا إِبْرَاهِيمُ قَدْ صَدَّقْتَ الرُّؤْيَا. خلاص يا Ibrahim. As soon as Ibrahim tried to slaughter, the knife wouldn't cut. The more he tried, he could not cut the neck, the throat of his son Ismail. Allah tells him, Ya Ibrahim, you have passed the test. إِنَّ هَذَا لَهُوَ الْبَلَاءُ الْمُبِينُ. Indeed, this is the greatest test and the greatest challenge. To sacrifice your own son? This is the greatest challenge. And Ibrahim, as a result, he received a promotion. وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ قَالَ إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. Ibrahim became an imam. He was a prophet, he was a messenger, he was given a promotion, he became an imam. Because he passed the challenge. But what's interesting is the verse says, إِنَّ هَذَا لَهُوَ الْبَلَاءُ الْمُبِينُ وَفَدَيْنَاهُ بِذِبْحٍ عَظِيمٍ. Instead, Allah tells Ibrahim that instead of this sacrifice, there's another sacrifice. There's another sacrifice. Some say that sacrifice was a sheep that was brought down from the sky for Ibrahim to slaughter it on that day. But anyone who knows the Quran and knows the expressions of Allah, Allah will not call a sheep بِذَبْحٍ عَظِيمٍ, a great sacrifice. The Mufassirin tell us who this great sacrifice is. This sacrifice was none other than Sayyid al-Shuhada, Abi Abdullah al-Husayn. The sacrifice had to take place more than 3,000 years later in the land of Karbala. That sacrifice was Hussein, and the sacrifice was given by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. On a night like this, Sayyidah Zainab salamullahi alayha, she came to the body of Imam Hussein, the beheaded body of Imam Hussein. She put her hands under his body and she said, Allahumma inna hadha al-Husayn ibn Ali ibn bint Rasulillah, inna hadha qurbanu nabiyyika Muhammad fataqabbalahu bi ahsan al-qabr. Oh Allah, this is Hussein, the son of Ali, the grandson of Rasulullah, and this is the sacrifice of Rasulullah. So accept the sacrifice. وَفَدَيْنَاهُ بِذَبْحٍ عَظِيمٍ. My dear brothers and sisters, this day was a great day. It was a horrific day. Al-Imam Rida alayhi salam says, إِنَّ يَوْمَ الْحُسَيْنِ أَقْرَحَ جُفُونَنَا وَأَسْبَلَ دُمُوعَنَا وَأَعَزَّ وَأَذَلَّ عَزِيزًا. The day of Ashura, the day of Imam Hussein, Imam Rida says, made our eyes bleed. أَقْرَحَ جُفُونَنَا. It made our eyes bleed. And it made our eyes cry. And it made the most noble amongst us, it humiliated us. And it made us humble. On this day, brothers and sisters, Imam Hussein set a lesson. he taught mankind and humanity a lesson. That lesson is that death is not the end. For some, death is the end. And for others, death is only the beginning. In fact, with death can come a much larger life and a bigger life. On the day of Ashura, Imam Hussein taught us that everyone dies. Everyone must die. خط الموت على ولد آدم مخط القلادة على جيد الفتاة. Death is a certainty for all mankind, for all the children of Adam. But Imam Hussein taught us that there's two kinds of death. How is it that you want to die? Everyone has to die. But do you want to die in disgrace, in dishonor, in oppression, in slavery? Or do you want to die as a free man, and in honor, and in nobility, fighting injustice, fighting for freedom? These are two different kinds of deaths. Imam Hussein on the day of Ashura taught us that a life with oppression and lack of freedom and humility and injustice, this is not life. Death is much better than this sort of life. And a death for a cause, to fight for freedom, fighting injustice, fighting for your rights, this is not death, this is life. This is not death. That is why he says, فَإِنِّي لَا أَرَى الْمَوْتَ إِلَّا سَعَادَةً وَالْحَيَاةُ مَعَ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا ضَرَرًا. I see death, but none other than happiness. For Imam Hussein, death meant happiness. Because it was a death of honor. It was a death of dignity. It had a purpose and it had a cause. Al-mawtu awla min al-'ari. These are the immortal words of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Al-mawtu awla min rukub al-'ari wal-'aru awla min dukhul al-nar. Death for me is much greater than humility. Much better than humility. I would rather die than face humility. To give bay'ah to a person like Yazid. Imam Hussein said these words. He taught us that for some death is the end, and for others death is only a beginning. For others death only means life, a greater life. He reiterates what the Quran says. وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. Do not think that those who die in the path of Allah are dead. Rather, they are alive with their Lord, being rewarded, being nourished. Imam Hussein teaches us that those who die for the sake of Allah and are martyred, these people don't die. These people receive a new life, a greater life. These people become immortal. All shahada that follow the footsteps of Imam Hussein, they receive a greater life and their life becomes immortal. Look at the shahada of the past. On April 9th, 1980, when Saddam Hussein slaughtered and killed Sayyid al-Shaheed, Sayyid Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr. Did Shaheed al-Sadr die on that day? Did he die on April 9th, 1980? Or did he receive a much greater life? Or that man became an immortal? After 33 years, ask about Saddam and ask about Sayyid al-Shaheed. Where did Saddam end up? And where did Sayyid al-Shaheed end up? In September of 2003, when terrorists headed by Al-Qaeda and Al-Zarqawi, they killed Al-Shaheed Sayyid Muhammad Baqir al-Hakim. Did Sayyid Muhammad Baqir al-Hakim did he die on that day? Or did he become an immortal? And where's Zarqawi today? And where's the likes of Zarqawi today? These people will go, and these martyrs will live, and they will become immortal. Yesterday in the city of Henna, a bombing occurred where 50 victims, 50 killed and martyred. Why? Because they're coming to Karbala. Their only crime is that they were coming to Karbala. Are these shuhada dead? No, my dear friends. Yesterday they became immortal and they began a new life. Anyone who seeks this path and takes this path, the path of Imam Hussein, becomes immortal. Sallu ala Muhammad. This year, the world witnessed a phenomenon. This year, all people witnessed a new phenomenon and a new change. We witnessed several revolutions taking place. The Arab Spring. We saw 3 dictatorships fall. The dictatorship in Egypt, and in Tunisia, and in Libya. And inshallah, several dictatorships will follow in Yemen and in Bahrain, inshallah. We will see this year. These revolutions that took place, this new phenomenon, what inspired it? What caused these people to think and to wake up and to reform? These people finally answered the call of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, when he stated, مَنْ رَأَى مِنْكُمْ مُنْكَرًا فَلْيُغَيِّرْهُ بِيَدِهِ فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه وذلك أضعف الإيمان. He who sees something negative, sees a vice, must change it with his hands. If not with his hands, with his tongue. If not with his tongue, at least he should disagree in his heart. And this is the weakest form of faith. Some say that these people, these revolutions, were inspired by a man in Tunis, a man that set himself on fire and committed suicide. He sparked this revolution. This is ridiculous. Such an event, such stupidity would never inspire such revolutions. These revolutions were inspired whether we like it or we not, whether they acknowledge it or they don't, whether they publicly mention it, whether Al Jazeera or Al Arabiya mentions it or not. These revolutions were inspired by Imam Hussein sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. From that day, from the day of Ashura, from his revolution, all revolutions were inspired. Because Imam Hussein set a lesson for all freedom fighters that don't remain silent. When you see oppression, don't stay at home. Do not remain silent. Raise your voices. ألا ترون إلى الحق لا يعمل به وإلى الباطل لا يتناهى عنه يرغب المؤمن في لقاء الله محقا فإني لا أرى الموت إلا سعيا. Do you not see that the good is not being enjoined and the bad is not being forbidden? On the contrary, today it is the opposite. The good is being seen as bad and the bad is being seen as good. Imam Hussein said a lesson. And finally some people are waking up. The cry of Imam Hussein is finally reaching the ears of some Muslims. And they are waking up. قال الحسين سلام الله عليه قال جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم من رأى منكم سلطانا جائرا ناكثا لعهد الله مخالفا لحرم الله يعمل في عباد الله بالإثم والعدوان ولا يغير عليه بفعل ولا قول كان حقا على الله أن يدخله مدخله. Imam Hussein says that my grandfather Rasulullah says, he who sees an oppressor, a tyrant, who oppresses and who disobeys Allah's commands, he doesn't leave a single command without disobeying it, and yet he remains silent and he doesn't do anything, then this person deserves for Allah to put him in hell. People are finally waking up. People are finally realizing that these dictatorships have no more room and are no longer welcome. They're not welcome. These tyrants must leave. We need to open a new page and a new history for our region. And these tyrants are just like those who fought Imam Hussein alayhi salam. They were just like those. Imam Hussein says, أَلَا وَإِنَّ هَؤُلَاء لَزِمُوا طَاعَةَ الشَّيْطَانِ وَتَرَكُوا طَاعَةَ الرَّحْمَنِ. These people are obeying and worshipping shaitan and have abandoned the worship of the All-Merciful, of Allah. And indeed, this is exactly what these tyrants have done. And just like 1,400 years ago, there were Kufans, there were the people of Kufa, who abandoned Imam Hussein and deceived him. Today we also have the people of Kufa. With all due respect for the people of Kufa, but I mean the same mentality and the same hypocrites. Al-Farazdaq met with Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Imam tells him, "Min ayna atayta ya Aba Amir?" Where did you come from? He told him, "Min al-Kufa," from Kufa. He told him, وَكَيْفَ وَجَدْتَ النَّاسِ? How did you find its people? He told him, سُيُوفُهُمْ قُلُوبُهُمْ مَعَكْ وَسُيُوفُهُمْ عَلَيْكَ. Their hearts are with you, but their swords are against you. They will fight you, Abba. They are hypocrites. They want you, they like you, but it doesn't serve their best interests. It's not for their interests to stand by your side, Ya Aba Abdullah. If you will go, they will fight you and they will kill you. Today we also have hypocrites. Today we also have people that speak one thing and do another. We have people that claim to be Muslim and to claim to follow the Sunnah of Rasulullah and to claim to be scholars. We have seen those that supported these revolutions that took place. They supported the revolution in Egypt and in Libya. And we saw them, they went to Egypt and they led Salat al-Jum'ah in Sahat al-Tahrir in Egypt. And they prayed against the Pharaoh of Egypt and the Pharaoh of Libya. But when it comes time to Bahrain, they say, no, there's no revolution in Bahrain. There's no room for revolution in Bahrain. There's no need for a regime change in Bahrain. Isn't this hypocrisy? Don't these people resemble the same people that existed at the time of Imam Hussein alayhi salam? Let's be blunt, let's be honest. People like Yusuf al-Qaradawi, who prayed against Hosni Mubarak and Gaddafi, but when it comes time for Hamid in Bahrain, no, this person is just. This person should be kept. You know why? Because the ruler is Sunni and his citizens are Shia. That's all it is. Why this whole fuss over Syria, brothers and sisters? Why all of this fuss? Why did the Arab League decide to freeze the membership of Syria and not anyone else? There was a unanimous vote in the Arab League by all these countries to freeze the membership of Syria. Why? Because there's tyranny and there's oppression in Syria. You know what's ridiculous? Is that Bahrain also voted against Syria. Isn't this ridiculous? Why? Why Syria? Why not Bahrain? Why not anyone else? We don't see anyone speaking against Yemen. Why Syria? Because the head of Syria is Alawi. It's because he's the friend of the Shia. It's because he's an ally to Iran. This is the reason. It's because he's an enemy to Israel. This is the reason. The same hypocrites that existed back then, their descendants and their grandchildren, they existed. And the same way that Yazid existed back then, Yazid existed. The grandchildren of Yazid still existed. Because in every generation and in every time, brothers and sisters, there will be a Yazid and there will be a Hussein. Imam Hussein says regarding Yazid, فَعَلَى الْإِسْلَامِ السَّلَامِ إِذَا ابْتُلِيَتِ الْأُمَّةِ بِرَاعٍ مِثْلَ Yazid. Peace upon Islam, meaning Islam will go away and will evaporate if a person like Yazid wants to come and rule Muslims. Because Yazid did not have the credentials. Yazid did not have what it takes to be a Muslim ruler. And today we see a group of people that would like to rule the Muslim nation and would like to speak in the name of all Muslims. But these people are tarnishing the name of Islam. And they are whom? They are the Wahhabis. Funded by Al Saud. This is the Yazid of our time, no doubt about it. I will safely tell you that not even Israel is the Yazid of our time. Or Yazid comes second. The first Yazid is Al Saud and the Wahhabi institution. And the Wahhabi establishment. Brothers and sisters, the same way that Imam Hussein weakened the Yazid of his time and Bani Umayyah, our duty today is to weaken this establishment. Not militarily. Not with the use of violence. This is not what is asked of us. But we need to use any measures possible to weaken this establishment. And to expose these people. Is to expose Al Saud. And to expose the Wahhabi department and the Wahhabi establishment. Our fight, we don't have an argument with our Sunni brothers and sisters. We're not even in a conflict with our Sunni brothers and sisters. We don't have any problems with them, and we will unite with them, and we will stand side by side with them. Our enemy is the Wahhabis, funded by Al Saud, and we must expose them. And what we ask of our Sunni brothers and sisters in return, we tell them that we unite with you, and we love you, and we stand by your side. We don't have any issues against you. But what we ask from our Sunni brothers and sisters, and from their heads,